As the defending Australian Open champion, there's higher expectations for Sofia Kenin in 2021. John Wertheim has more in today's Unstrung.
Sofia Kenin gained plenty in 2020. A top 5 ranking, more than $4 million in prize money, 24 wins in a shortened season.
Her first Grand Slam trophy.
And of course, a major breakthrough as she took the pre-COVID Australian Open. Here's what Sofia Kenin lost in 2020. The element of surprise. The ability to sneak up on opponents individually and on the field collectively. For the first few years of her career, Kenin was all stealth. She was caught in between generations, younger than countrywomen like Sloane Stephens and Madison Keys, but older than, say, Coco Gauff and Amanda Anisimova. Kenin didn't and doesn't have eye-popping, jaw-dropping power. And she won not by dazzling, but by playing effective, efficient tennis. So it was that she, well, pick your cliche. She flew under the radar. She operated in the shadows. She slid through undetected. But no more. It's one of tennis's articles of faith. Win a major, and you go from hunter to hunted. Suddenly, Kenin was the player to beat, the favorite, not the underdog.
Try not to fall.
This can be an adjustment, and it was in the case of Kenin, who lost 3 of her next 4 matches after Melbourne, and admitted to struggling with her new status, this change in court positioning, so to speak. But among Kenin's great gifts, there's this, her taste for battle, her persistence. So it was no surprise that after the COVID reset, she was back at it. She capped off 2020 by reaching the finals of the French Open, grinding through 3 setters, coming within a match of bagging a second major. As she defends her title in Melbourne, so much has changed. For the world, for tennis, but also for Kenin.
From the United States.
She'll be a top 4 seed, playing on the big course, expected to beat the first 5 players she faces. It reveals another truth about tennis. You can't keep winning and keeping up a disguise.
John Wertheim reporting. Take a look at this. The breakout year for Sofia Kenin. 16-2 at majors. The only women's player to reach 2 major finals. No one else even made 2 major semifinals. She is the top-ranked American, has her sights set on being the top player in the world. Chanda, she hadn't even reached the quarterfinal at a major. She wins in Australia. Hadn't been to the quarterfinals at a WTA Tour level clay court event. She gets to the finals at Roland Garros. What's next for Sofia Kenin?
You know, I think obviously winning another major. I mean, she came so close at Roland Garros. You can tell by how she fights, how she competes out there. She wants it all. And she's been under the radar, not talked about as much as some of these younger players. There's a little chip on her shoulder, I think, because of that. And it just works with her game. We kind of saw her knocking on the door at the start of last year. She was seated around 10 at the Australian Open. You didn't really think she was going to win the tournament, but it was wide open, and she believed it. And I think it was just impressive the way she's battled time and time again. You mentioned those losses she took after winning the Australian Open. A lot of players would have struggled the rest of the year, but she just found a way to battle. Lyon winning that title, that was huge, and then backing it up at the end of the year. But for the pandemic, she would have been higher ranked with what she did. And I think that certainly would be the goal. You know, she's trying to get to the top of the game, believes that she can. And when you look at the field, why not with the way that she can compete?
My favorite 2 things about Sofia Kenin, I've gotten to spend a little bit of time with her last year. We traveled from Acapulco back to LA for Indian Wells together. And the girl literally doesn't take days off. Even after she's winning so much, she just goes right back to the practice court. Her work ethic and how much she sinks into the game, I think is really going to stand her in good stead moving forward. And if she can balance that with the second thing, I asked her in Brisbane last year, you're playing so well, this is right before she won Australia, what are you going to do if you win one of these big titles? She looks me straight in the eye and says, you know what? I want to go get some bling bling.
Yes.
Maybe some Cartier, maybe something like that. So she's still enjoying herself, having fun, and if she can keep that, along with all the pressures that she's about to face, I think she'll find that right balance and just keep moving.
You know, she said, you talk about winning. I mean, one word she would use to describe what she loves most about tennis: winning. That's her answer. Let's take a look at what Sofia Kenin has in store coming up here as the draw from the Yarra Valley Classic, and Kenin's at the bottom, gets the bye. Potentially Camila Giorgi in her first match.
Yeah, some big hitters that could be in the way with Giorgi. Jessie Pegula playing well, but she's got to get through Bartel, and potentially Muguruza in that quarterfinal if it gets there. You know, it's hard to gauge because everybody's starting without a lot of play under their belt, but you figure Kenin, with how she mentally approaches her matches, she's got a good chance to play some good tennis right out of the gate.
Since the start of 2019, she has more hardcourt wins than anyone on the WTA Tour. Prakash, she put out on Instagram, you're going to like this: people will stare, make it worth their while. I mean, she wants that attention.
There's a big difference in welcoming it and sort of being okay with it. I think when the great champions finally welcome it and realize, listen, this is where I belong, it goes a big way showing on the court.
All right, top-ranked American, and you will see her right here on Tennis Channel. Of course,